The question is that the amendments be agreed to. I call the member for Dawson.
Well, thank you very much, Madam Speaker. This government brought 19 pieces of legislation into this place as a centrepiece of their betrayal of the Australian people. It took them 19 bills to implement a carbon tax that shouldn't even exist, and now they twist the knife a bit further with these 7 amendments. This was a tax we were promised would not exist. Australian families were specifically promised just days before the last federal election, when the Prime Minister said there will be no carbon tax under a government I lead. And maybe she was right, because it is not the Prime Minister leading this government, it's the Greens. The Greens and an anything-goes bid to cling onto power that actually holds the reins here. And watching this government scuttle about, fumbling and bumbling about, the worse it gets. It's almost like watching Peter Sellers in the famous Pink Panther role. And I say almost because it's excruciating to watch, but it's not funny. The Australian people are not laughing at their power bills. They are not laughing at the end of the week when the budget just doesn't stretch far enough. They're not laughing when their boss says it's no longer worth keeping the doors open, or says he has to let people go to avoid closing the doors. They're not laughing in central Queensland when BMA announces it's going to close its Gregory mine with the loss of 300 jobs, or when Xstrata Coal sheds 600 jobs across its operations in Queensland and New South Wales and shuts down its Mackay office, or when Rio Tinto announces it's closing down its Blair Athol mine with 170 jobs lost, or when Anglo sheds 50 jobs from its Moranbah North mine, or when BHP announced it shelves plans for its expansion of the Peak Downs mine, foregoing about 350 jobs, or when they announced they've shelved plans for their Red Hill mine, foregoing about 2,000 jobs during construction and 1,500 permanent jobs, or when they announced they've shelved plans for their Saraji East mine, foregoing 2,500 jobs during construction and about 1,400 jobs permanently, or when Peabody Energy announces it shelved plans for its construction of its expansion of its Quadrilla mine. The people of central Queensland have had enough. The people of Australia have had enough. I was recently in touch with a baker in Mackay, Peter Grant, who owns Bushman's Breads, and he knows only too well how difficult it can be to make ends meet, because he, like many other small businesses, are on limited incomes. He can only sell his loaves of bread for so much, and it's all perfectly well for the Prime Minister and others in this government to stand up and tell business to pass it on and then tell families that they won't have to pay it, but there are cases where the business simply can't pass it on. Peter Grant cannot pass on the selling price of his bread when he's competing with the likes of Coles and Woolworths, who sell their bread at less than cost. So the $20,000 extra that he is going to pay from the carbon tax comes directly out of his own pocket. So much for the weekly compensation of $10.10 when Peter and his family in their small business are out of pocket by $20 grand a year. It's the same with many Bowen tomato farmers, including Rod Ito, whose letter I read in Parliament a while ago, the one where he said this was a dud of a government if he ever saw one. He pays an extra $13,000 in cardboard boxes and an extra $9,000 in electricity, both directly due to the carbon tax. A cafe owner in Mackay, Drew Crouch, tells me that the average electricity bill in retail or hospitality businesses in Mackay is up about $3,000 a quarter. That's $250 a week. And you know what he said to me? He said, "You know what happens with that $250, George?" He said, "Well, that's one less job. One less job." The owner of the Bowen Tourist Park tells me his power bill is up by 20%, and Ergon tells him that it could be 100% attributable to the carbon tax. In a troubled tourism market, he can't recoup the cost for his customers. It leaves him out of pocket $10,000 a year. There are plenty of examples like this, and these are real people with real concerns, paying real costs because of the carbon tax. The Prime Minister, the Treasurer, the Climate Change Minister and the rest of the Pink Panther cast can tell these people and other Australians that they are liars. They tell them that they are not paying the carbon tax. They would have those hard-working families and hard-working business owners believe that their rising electricity bills and other input costs are just a figment of their imagination. The problem is the Labor Party now only listens to the Greens. That's where they get their policy from, the Greens. Pretty simple stuff, Greens policy. Don't make money, don't get ahead, make nothing, produce nothing, do as the government says, and whatever you do, don't improve your lot in life. Oh, and let's all pretend it's about the environment. So as far as the Greens are concerned, the carbon tax is perfect. It makes money off those who work too hard and earn too much, and it spends some of it on their primary voter base. It stops businesses from making money. It shuts down industries that they consider dirty and forces them to go offshore. It pours a large chunk of that dirty money down the drain as the money-go-round churns around and around and around. It can be dressed up as green by sending billions of dirty dollars overseas to buy what may or may not be reduced emissions on a dodgy carpet market. That's a perfect outcome for the Greens, and Labor took it on board as its own. So enamoured was the Prime Minister with this idea of the Greens that she signed on the bottom line and stumped up 19 of the most ill-conceived pieces of legislation that have ever been passed into law. So rushed was it that they were still putting it together as it was going through Parliament. And, you know, I wonder if it crossed anyone's mind what impact it was going to have on charities and what impact it was going to have on aged care homes. Aged care homes are among the many constituents, individuals, businesses and organisations that contacted me when their electricity bills started rolling in after the 1st of July. Good Shepherd Lodge in Mackay was one of them. Their CEO, Raylene Phillips, wrote to me and said this: "I would like to bring to your attention the one impact of introduction of the carbon tax has had on us as an aged care provider. We had just received our first electricity account since introduction and have received an additional charge of $2,621 for the month, with an additional supplement from the government to assist of $160. Clearly, this will have a significant role-on effect to us as a provider, with an additional $30,000 expected annually. I would know what action should be taken on behalf of our aged care residents and aged care homes. The entire carbon tax package should be axed. The Labor Party should avoid further embarrassment that will result from their incompetence and association with the Greens by simply axing this tax completely. Instead of trying to patch up this carbon tax with these band-aid measures, these bandages in this amendments, what they should do is really have an amputation.